Welcome to Music Matters Podcast with Daryl Craig Harris, talking about all things music with celebrities, artists, music business insiders, and more.
Josh Hight, how are you doing today?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm very good. So you have a new record coming out, and actually an EP, 4-song, which I was checking out last night. Great music, very interesting stuff. And you have quite a history, a lot of releases in your background. Where are you joining us from today?
Right now, I'm in Lewes, where I live in East Sussex. So it's about an hour and a half from London and about 10 minutes from Brighton. So
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a beautiful area. And you're actually you're a Detroit boy originally, right?
I am. Yeah, I grew up in Detroit. Well, in the Detroit metropolitan area, we call it. And then I moved to Chicago when I was about 18, and I lived there for quite a while. Played in some bands, worked in some bars, kind of did that, and then I moved to London, and I've lived in the UK now for almost 20 years.
Wow. How did you? What was the impetus to move to London? Was it music or?
It was, I think it was just change generally. I had met someone that lived here. A very good friend of mine had already lived here at the time, and I don't know. The band I was in moved to New York. I didn't want to move to New York. Wanted to try something different, so I went to school for graphic design here. Oddly, is like I don't do that at all. So that's just the way. But it did sort of like switch things up for me and made me think about things just so differently. And it was a really, I mean, it was, in retrospect, it was a really great decision.
Yeah, and you're along with being a musician, you're a pro photographer and a director, so you have kind of a lot of bases covered. And actually, as a musician, as we know, it's great to have a lot of different things that you can kind of pull from, especially releasing projects, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, kind of know it's not myopic, is it, at that point? Kind of know all the different facets of what goes into it. And I also kind of know, you can't really expect, you can do your best, but you can't expect much. You kind of just go ahead and be happy with what you're producing and hope people pick up on it. So music's my first real love. And making images has always been like, I don't know, they really go hand in hand for me. I feel like that my work, my music work and my photography work are I would say they're kind of related. I mean, they're similar threads of interest, I think.
Yeah, and I think with especially in this album, In His Wake, it's really the imagery is really strong in it because it's definitely it creates a vibe, and it's very I would say almost like there's a soundtrack aspect to it. Do you kind of what's your background in terms of influences? Is that something that you kind of try to do, or is it just you just kind of write what you feel?
I think Richard and I met, the producer for this, Richard Norris, and we share a very strong love for horror film.
Oh,
So
okay.
I think, and we actually were soundtracking things together. That's how we kind of started working together. And I think that's sort of like a natural gravitational pull for us is to make something kind of droney, but has like an appeal to it. Um, yeah, I do think about those type of things when I'm making music. I guess the soundtrackiness, but the influences, my musical influences, are more vocally like vocals come from like my mom singing in church and
Mm.
Roy Orbison and like Hank Williams and Brenda Lee and that kind of stuff for me is like really key.
Yeah. And it's interesting because, those are obviously all classic artists that are kind of, as an American especially, they kind of are in our DNA. Um,
Absolutely.
and it's interesting how like you have those kind of influences and then you end up creating the kind of music that you do because it's a bit of a departure from that. But then again, like that it all kind of ties together again, coming back to our roots as musicians coming from the States. Do you find that kind of alchemy is something that you really embrace and try to kind of push forward?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean that I say all those vocal influences, but before I moved here, as a definite Anglophile, like The Cure, The
Right.
Smiths, Depeche Mode, My Bloody Valentine. This all kind of shoegazer 90s wave for me was really important to my youth. And um, coming here, I was actually surprised at how big some of that music was, because for me, growing up in Michigan, it was like me and maybe six of my friends even knew who these bands were.
Yeah.
So
People are listening to Bob Seger
yeah, exactly. So
exactly.
it was pretty amazing to kind of be introduced to a culture that existed in a way that I never thought, and probably could have really done with when I was younger, to be honest. But yeah, and I like that merging. So it is conscious.
Yeah, and UK and especially London is such a music city too. And there's so many. I mean, I know there's not as many clubs as there used to be, but it's still a really vibrant music town. Do you really get a lot of inspiration from being in that area, or
It's funny. I left London about 5 years ago. I live in the countryside now, and most of my inspiration really comes from here, and being close to the sea, in a smaller town, with a multi-generational friendship group, which in London didn't wasn't really the case.
Hmm.
It's very career-minded in London. And
Yeah,
this
it's the hustle bustle big
the
city.
hustle bustle. Yeah, it was really
Right.
nice to leave that actually. So I find a lot of inspiration from here, but when I do go back to London, I feel like I'm for whatever, I feel like I'm centered and there's a reason for me to be there. I don't have this disdain for it that
Yeah,
if
yeah,
you
yeah.
live there you can get.
Well, it's kind of like you mentioned New York and Chicago too. Like there's a lot of advantages, but there's disadvantages. So you have to kind of figure out what works for you. Artistically, there's a lot happening, but but it is like it's expensive, it's crazy place and
Yeah,
all
that's it.
all that. Tell me about your new release In His Wake. So it's four songs.
Yeah.
Uh, how would you classify the music? I don't like doing that for artists because I feel it's weird for me to do that.
I don't know. It's weird. It's weird, isn't it? It is a really hard thing, but it's kind of like the first thing
Cinematic does
people ask you, you
Yeah,
know?
cinematic does come to mind for me, but I
That's
don't know.
great. No, that's a great one. I
Yeah.
definitely use that. We when we were talking about it, it was really hard. It's kind of like there are elements of, I guess, like British shoegaze and then also kind of oddly Americana sounding things at
Mm.
times. Um, yeah, it's alternative music.
Yeah. And
Um,
it's yeah, and it's indie as it should be, and
yeah.
that gives you a lot of freedom to kind of you don't have to sit in one box and
Mm.
I know you've released a lot of different kinds of music. The Detachment Kit was one of your early groups that was successful, but it's definitely a different vibe from kind of what you're doing now.
Yeah.
How has that progress happened? Is it just getting new influences, or
Uh,
how has that worked for you?
Detachment Kit was, an art school band, very much post-punk, and we were all really young, and it was kind of pre 9/11,
Right. Different
and
world. Yeah.
yeah, it was a totally different world. It was really exciting, really fun. We toured loads, and we were really open to doing anything and everything, and bombastic. And I really like that energy of like start up and go,
Mm.
punk ethos. And I still very am like that with things that I do. And I like harder, more angular music, but singing to me was always something I really wanted to do. And so I began playing music that I could sing to, and it sort of lent itself to being softer spoken and a bit, well, kind of easier for me to play, to be honest.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I like, and the vocals on this album are really nice, and it's very spatial. I like the. What was your process? Were you very collaborative with Richard, your producer? Because Richard has quite a background too, and maybe
It has
you
an
could talk
amazing
of
background.
yeah, maybe you
Yeah.
could talk about that a little bit as well.
Well, Richard was in a band called The Grid, and then went on to later do Beyond the Wizard Sleeve, and produces lots of bands and does remixes for really successful artists. And he's my neighbor.
Oh,
So
awesome! Yeah,
yeah, no,
yeah.
so
There's a lot
that
of
was
art. I should mention there's a lot of artists that live in that Brighton area. That's quite a creative area.
There is, and we're constantly learning about people that like. There's someone from the XX lives near us, and I never knew. I just saw them at like our pub, and so there's lots of like people I think that have sort of escaped the city to find these spots that
Mm.
are more in the country. But Richard and I were really collaborative. I think he encouraged me to push this EP into much more of a personal direction, which at first I kind of thought, okay, well, we're going to make songs and they're going to be more open in general and kind of for everyone. That was sort of my original idea because I felt like I had done things that were really personal. But then the more I started to write, the more personal it got. And
Mm.
it started to feel like all these songs are really about something I'm trying to like get out. So yeah, he was really collaborative in terms of especially the production. I mean, he really pushed me. I tend to show up with songs that are like super squashed, like there's reverb on everything. Uh, it's like he really kind of picks them apart and picks out bits and pieces that are going to fly, which I really appreciate.
Yeah, do you find having a second set of ears is helpful just to kind of somebody that can step back and hear the whole project? Does that kind of help you
Absolutely.
form what you're doing?
Yeah, it does in all forms of art that I'm making. I think like with photography and everything, it's super important for me to have people be involved in the process that I trust.
Mm.
Because I mean, in the end, like you can get really lost in the smell of your own art. Like it's nice to have someone say like that's shit or that's amazing.
Right.
Uh,
Or sometimes, or that's it's done. You don't need to add
yeah, or
more.
that's done. That's a big one. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard. I know. Well, I'm a photographer as well and a musician, but we were talking about that a little bit before we started, and that's a big thing about, especially photography, like knowing when the edit's done and knowing when
Yes.
to stop, right? Because that takes a lot of discipline.
Really does. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's meme worthy for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So how did you on this song, or actually your kind of strategy for digital, and I know you have vinyl on this song. You have a 10-inch vinyl, digital downloads and that kind of thing available. But do you tend to want to release the full project? Do you like to doing singles? What's your strategy with that, or do you think it matters?
I I have like a love-hate relationship with the drip feed
Yeah, because
single.
it's a process that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
Um, it does keep me engaged because I'm like a slave to the algorithm. So I do
I
I
think
do
yeah
like
we
pay
all
attention
are.
to that. I'm like, oh yes, another song came out.
Exactly.
But like at the same time, like I equally love listening to something the way that it was intended to be listened to in me for me, which is a long play thing.
Mm.
So I think we're gonna release it all at once. I'm working on a video for the song 15. And that's exciting. So, I mean, in a way, that's sort of like the the B-side single video, which I kind of think is cool.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, and
but
video is still valid, even though obviously the MTV days have gone. But there's especially like things like lyric videos. Do you find that that's something that's interesting?
yeah, I do. I think I pay attention to what artists are doing with their moving image because I think it's a really interesting opportunity to like flex and show where your influences are. And Brian Griffin is a massive. He's a photographer, not the dog from Family Guy. Is a massive influence in me, and that his like attachment to music and the way that he defined artists through image is I think about that a lot. And so the imagery that I use with my music is always really kind of rich and sort of folkloric. Making a video is really important to kind of show that a little bit more and maybe take even more of like a back seat and let the heart sort of shine a bit more.
Mm.
'Cause
Yeah,
I'm
and you mentioned the music being personal, and I would actually I would use the word as well, authentic, because when it's personal, it does feel real versus somebody that's just trying to put stuff out just to kind of get numbers.
yeah.
You find that that's super important for you to be really authentic in what you're doing. I mean, it seems obvious, but
Yeah, I think there's no reason to not be. For me, it's therapy, you know. I mean,
mm,
it's all just like I don't have a. I mean, I was gonna say I don't have a traditional upbringing, but I don't really know what that means.
yeah, what is traditional
Yeah, I
anymore?
don't know. I'm gonna stop myself.
Most people don't.
Yeah, exactly. But I think you do. You know, we're always trying to like make sense of our past in the present and
Mm,
help ourselves move forward. And like music and singing, especially for me, is that. And writing and telling stories that maybe aren't so literal, but have personal attachment to them. These This is getting over things and evoking things and bringing things towards you and pushing things away at the same time, which
Mm.
I find really helpful.
Yeah, you mentioned in your bio about loss. So tell me a little bit about that.
Um, my brother died when I was quite young. I was 12, and he was a big music fan, and it really framed a lot of my adolescence.
Mm.
And then, I had, as you do, you have your grandparents pass and stuff. But then in the last 5 years, my dad got really sick and died, and I cared for him. And I had quite a lot of friends that were unfortunately, tragically passing through drug addictions and
Mm.
accidents, and it just kind of felt like it was chasing me around a little bit.
Yeah, it becomes a bit of a weight on you, right?
Does, yeah.
Mm. Mm.
And I think you can own that, but you need to let it go because it becomes like a cloak and a defense mechanism and a woe is me sort of thing. So I did a whole series on it, photography, and it really chased me around, to be honest. So
Mm.
I had to kind of break out of it. And so that there's a lot of the songs. Well, there's a song specifically in this that's about that, but it's kind of coded in a lot of different things.
Yeah, do you find that music is really cathartic for you? Just getting that, like you mentioned, just kind of releasing all that. It's. Do you find that that's super important?
Absolutely. I mean,
Mm.
sometimes I wish I was in like a doom metal band or something, and I just like,
Yeah, you could just get it
yeah, just
all
like
out at once.
really like exactly like I love that music so much, and
Yeah.
I love that kind of like the feeling that it gives me that's like arrested. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the energy. Well, there's a freedom in that, just like
Yeah.
laying it all out there and in that form, anyways. What's some things you've learned along the way as an artist? Maybe some advice that you could give younger artists or even photographers, creatives.
Oh, I think really good advice that I've only really kind of taken to heart recently is that your failures are often the successes that are disguised,
Mm.
because they're pushing you either away or towards something, and that's leaving this middle, this like really mediocre median. And art needs to push a boundary. And sometimes people aren't ready for what you're doing, but that doesn't mean it's not good. And aesthetics are something that, really are um, open. You can create your own journey and your own path. And I think a lot of people don't realize that. They look at too many other people's work and try to copy it.
Mm.
Um, and I think
Yeah. Do you think being getting the pushback actually helps you kind of push forward? Being brave is probably important.
bravery, yeah, absolutely. I'm a big fan of the like crucial feedback of
Mm.
someone giving you honest, brutal feedback in a way that's meant to help. Like, hey, maybe this isn't your thing, or or this is what really stands out to me. My husband is amazing at looking at things that maybe he's not too familiar with, and just I'll ask, what stands out. And he'll tell me, and I take that in. I really listen to that type of feedback. I think it's important.
Yeah, and then you have to be and find a sort of a security as in your within your soul to be able to accept that kind of feedback, right? Because it's not always easy. If you
Uh,
ask for honest feedback and they give it to you, you have to be able to kind of digest it in a way, right?
Absolutely. I mean, we're making work for ourselves, but we're also making work for other people to consume. If you're going to show it, then and you think there's an audience, I think it's incredibly helpful and constructive to let the feedback saturate and get angry. I mean, sure, yeah, get angry.
Mm.
That can fuel you to something as well,
Mm.
whether it's quitting or getting better.
And on this, going back to the album, you have actually some very special guest artists, musicians, singers. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, we've got Andy Bell from Ride, also plays bass in Oasis.
That's a big one.
Big one. Yep.
Yeah, awesome.
He plays on this, which is great. My long-term friend Emmett Kelly, who is now in a band called the Hard Quartet. He plays guitar in Ty Segall, and his own band is the Cairo Gang and Bonnie Prince Billy. He plays bass and guitar throughout the record, which is great. Super excited about that. And then funny, Dottie Cochran, who's in a band called Deary, who is a beautiful voice. Um, I took photos of their band for a job, and we met and was like, "Wow, your band is really, really good." And we connected, and then I asked Dottie to sing on a song because I thought her voice would fit perfectly. So it was one of those serendipitous moments of meeting someone through something else and then connect. And I'm doing pictures for their album. That's their new album that's coming out. So we've connected.
Yeah, well, that's awesome too. Yeah, it's interesting to, when you start creating or interacting with other artists out there, you get different inspiration. You hear people that you like you'd love to have them included in your projects.
Yeah.
And photography is a great bridge, especially in music, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Interact with a lot of folks, which is pretty cool.
Yes, a lot. It's lots of talking, I find, with my work. I talk a lot.
Yeah. I do that too for photography, because when you first start shooting with somebody, they tend to be kind of stiff, and I love talking, getting them laughing, and then that's when you get the best stuff, right?
True, absolutely.
Yeah. Awesome. How can people find your photography as well?
I'm pretty. I have a website. It's joshhight.com. HIGHT. And then also I'm on Instagram, and I've got some things around.
And I should mention too, so also to music, how can people find musically the projects? Since you have a couple of different projects, but
Pines is a little bit less easy to find at the moment, but we have an Instagram account. I'm in the beginning of making a Bandcamp. We've got Chandra's record label Semaphore. So Semaphore, you can get it at the record label there.
Awesome.
And also probably from Richard Norris's Bandcamp page as well.
Okay. Yeah, there's so many. It's funny these days. There's so many outlets.
There is. Yeah.
You have to even for me photography, you have to kind of figure out like, how am I going to spend my day sharing my stuff
where's the channel?
Exactly. Yeah. Now you have multiple channels. Well, awesome. Josh, thank you for joining us. I appreciate your day. What time is it there actually?
It's 6:20.
Oh, okay. Awesome. Yeah. Early evening. I'm in Las Vegas, so it's 10:20.
Yeah.
But it's funny, the world's a smaller place now with things like Zoom, which is what we're using. But awesome. Everybody, please check out In His Wake. It's a 4-song EP, really, really cool music. Like I said, very atmospheric, and it'll definitely get you dreaming, I think, and thinking about stuff, which is really fun. Again, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate it too.
So, and everybody also too, please find Josh on his website. Check out the photography, which I'm going to do because I didn't have your website.
Thanks for the plug.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's all good. So have a great day, Josh, and
thanks, you too.
Awesome. Have a great day in England.
Take care.
All right. Ciao. Bye.
Thanks for joining us, and please consider subscribing to our podcast and follow us on our social media pages for guest announcements.